Mamacita, mamacita, qué bonita.
I love that.
Mamacita, mamacita, qué bonita.
Hello, ladies.
Hello. Oh, that is amazing.
Bring the vibe.
Amazing.
You know, whenever you're sitting for so long, it's nice to get the blood flowing before.
And get into that feminine energy.
Well, and then you take in more too, because you have the blood flowing through everything, and then you take in more what you're listening to. But oh my God.
We have like 5 children between the two of us, and we're like, we always try to escape outside because, well, I love outside, and it's just a little bit more quiet, right?
It's a little hot out here, so it took me, yeah. Oh,
that song goes perfect. The song goes perfect with the heat out here.
I can't stop smiling. I absolutely love it. Welcome to the series. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Just who are you?
Oh, yeah, we just danced right away.
Bringing it in.
Well, my name's Julia Dawn.
And I'm Tiffany Rose. And together we are
Collective Vibe.
Dawn Rose Collective Vibe.
Oh yeah,
we're
Dawn
just
Rose
like, woo!
We're so excited. We didn't get enough blood flowing when we danced. We got to move a bit more.
I absolutely love that. I love that. And you two are the empowerment duo. Absolutely incredible. For anybody who is popping on and haven't seen my face before, I am the host. My name's Lauren Lindsay. And I have invited these two absolutely incredible women to come and share their perspective all around expansion and their life, their business, how they keep up this absolutely incredible vibe with 5 children. They are absolutely gorgeous. And I am just absolutely
sometimes
buzzing.
I forget.
So entertainment for your Friday night. How good is this? Is it dinner time for you two there? Dinner time? 3 p.m.
Yeah, I guess are we still on Thursday? Are you on Friday?
Thursday, 8 p.m. we are.
Okay.
Evidence of the time zone.
I'm still thrown off with all this international time, right? Because I'm like, are they like a whole day ahead of us?
I think it's only Australia that's a day ahead of it. I don't know. The time zones are nuts. We're here.
I love it. I love the international time. It's really challenging us and like making us jump outside of our comfort zone and learning about so many different things like time zones and cultures, and it's been wonderful that way.
And I love it because I get to chat with Lauren when I work night shift because she's up when I'm up all night.
I'm up quite early as well. I normally get a message at about 6 o'clock. It's like, hi, you're up. I'm like, I just woke up. What are you doing? I know all too well them night shifts. I know what it's like.
I know, baby.
No. You wanted to come outside. She tried to take my hair clip. No,
I was like, if she's not going to use it, I'm totally going to
wanted to come outside. So you can get your own hair clip.
Wow. I can handle it, baby.
Okay. So share with us, what does the term expansion mean to the both of you? But how do you want to do this? Are you just going to see which one speaks for which one? That sounded really
We're going to fight till the death, and whoever wins gets to speak first.
We kind of have similar perspectives. Mm-hmm. So I think like even if one of us can answer,
one of us will expand more than the other. So
I love that.
You go ahead. Okay. You're the oldest. She just had a birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you.
So I have the questions here too in case I don't hear you as well. What the term expansion means. So for me, I feel like the whole point of living is to learn and to expand, and that if you are just living day by day and waiting till Friday because it's the weekend and you're just waiting for life to happen, you're not going to expand in life. I feel like to truly expand, you need to be willing to step out of your comfort zone and to learn and to grow and to make the best out of this life, to expand your knowledge in any way you can, through books, mentors, through life lessons. And if you push past your fear, and that's when you expand the most.
And I want to tap in on that.
Yeah.
I feel like anybody can be forced to learn. We're forced to go to school. You know, being forced to learn is one thing, but when you really expand is when you're choosing to learn and embody it. You know, it's a very different thing when you're actually making a conscious choice that this is something important to you and that you're willing to open up and learn something new, something outside of your comfort zone, something that is out of your element, and you're tapping into that energy and expanding out of something, you know, maybe that you grew up in from either your parents or your community or, you know, social pressures, and you're expanding past these boundaries and ideas and tapping into some of the unknown things. And it's a conscious choice. I like that it's a conscious choice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I love that, tapping into the unknown. And that is just, it really does kind of bring the series kind of together when it comes to the expansion. I love that description. I love how open it is. And every single person who has come on so far have all said different but similar. And I think every single one is just beautiful in its own way. And I love how you've mentioned them. If we expand into the unknown, a lot of us don't do this because of that fear that stops us with the unknown. And I'm sure as we go through over the next half an hour while you're here, we're going to tap into a little bit more of that and how you two actually deal with the unknown and how you navigate through life and just show up in the high five celebratory excitement that you're both here today. I'm so happy, honestly. That's just really given me a good buzz watching you both dancing there. So if anyone's missed it, make sure you go back to the beginning.
Julie's all high vibe. You got to get into her high vibe. She's a Manny Jen.
People are like, where do you get your energy from? And I'm like,
she's a manifesting generator.
I have so much of me to go around at work. They're like, what have you been drinking? I'm like, it's natural, baby.
It really is.
I'm like, it's contagious. Come on, let's share it.
It's true though, it is contagious, isn't it? I love that as well. So anybody that's not so happy, just come and bring them over under your arm, under your wing, isn't it? Under your wing.
It's either going to trigger you or make you want to like jump into that energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love that. And if it triggers you, then you've got to question, why is this triggering me? Why do I not want to be happy?
Yeah. Or what is it about her happiness that, you know?
Yeah, that's making me think, oh, I like that. Oh, I like where this is going as well. Okay, so take yourselves back 5 years ago. Did you envision being where you both are right now in your life and business?
I'll tap into this.
I'll let you go first because I went first last time.
So I definitely did 5 years ago. Well, 6 years, I would say even maybe. So about 8 years ago. Oh my God, time flies so fast. 8 years ago, I went and like my husband and I had just got married and we were looking into what we wanted to do. And one of our goals we wanted to achieve was buying a home. And we kind of got like denied. Not kind of, we got denied. Rejected. They're like, you know, with all your school debt and everything, it's too much for us to lend you any money. So we went from being offered no money to really after we got denied and we felt like it really triggered us. We felt like we're making great money. Like, why is this a no? Anyway, so it forced us in a nice way. Actually, I'm not going to get rid of the word forced, but it did feel forced initially. But then we realized we really desired to tap into this unknown. Like, okay, what do we need to do? How do we set our goals? And we really started doing a lot of self-development around goals and setting goals. And so we made this huge list of, do I have a dragonfly? What is it?
I don't know. It's like a big beetle or something.
we really tapped into setting goals and expanding on goal setting. And so we use this moment of what we kind of thought was a failure, and we took it as a lesson. Okay, so it's not a no, it's just not right now. And so we tapped into learning and expanding our knowledge and setting goals, and we made this huge list of goals. I actually have it in my drawer, and I just
showed it to me the other day, and I was
boom,
amazed
boom, 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 like all
how
my
much
goals.
she accomplished. Like, and she wrote these down 5 years ago. And
No, it was like 8 years ago.
And she
this is the time thing.
And she nailed everyone on
And
there. I couldn't believe it.
amazing. And so I kind of went on a tangent, so I forget the question. Oh, about what if I believe, yeah. So if you were to ask me
just before you carry on, I am just so like in awe how you've just carried on through a beetle being on your shoulder. It's just a pro.
I just love beetle. Look at my hair, like
gone now.
Everybody wants to like nest in my hair, you know.
It's so
it's
just
thick.
So magnetic
to animals. Anyways, I'm not going to go on a tangent. I can. So I'm in full feminine energy right now. I'm feeling very creative, very woo. So watch out, world. But yeah, so. So 8 years ago, had you asked me this question, I would have been like, no, I wouldn't have been able to see it, because at that point I was just setting my goal, tapping into this energy of, receiving from the universe. But like, it was 6 years ago, we bought our house, and we went from 8 years ago from getting zero money allowed for getting a house to them offering us
$1 million,
just under $1 million. So in 2 years, they went from, we're not going to give you any money, to, oh my God, we'll give you $1 million. And we're like, what? And it was just amazing by tapping into this energy and focusing on, we got really goal oriented. We learned how to like direct our vision, like an arrow, like boom.
Did you think at that time, 8 years ago, you would be where you are now is the question?
No, I just answered it. 8 years ago, fuck no. But 5 years ago, yes, because then I'd seen how all my vision was just flowing, and it led me right up to here. Like, yeah. So within the 5 years, yes, I see it. I feel it.
Yeah. And for me, 5 years ago.
Sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent.
No, that was perfect.
Me, 5 years ago, I was a mom of now 3 children. So it made me really think about my kids and the future I wanted for them. And I've always loved inspiring other people. So I've always had this vision, but I just didn't know how I would do it. And like I could see, I was doing like another network marketing company at that time. Tiffany and I were doing it together, and we inspired so many women. And I knew that I wanted to do that, but on our own, not under someone else. Like I wanted to do our own thing.
Because when we tapped into this network marketing, I was doing it just to help her out. It wasn't anything I even remotely
She's an amazing sister.
Desired to do. It was out of like, oh, I'll help you out, because I just love helping. I just love helping. Yeah. So I'm like, sure, like I'll help you reach your goal, and we did it, and it rocked like together.
Amazing. Yeah.
It was like boom, our energy together was like boom.
Yeah. And like,
but we knew we wanted to do something that we desired.
And then when she had her last baby, she didn't have the time or energy to focus. So we just kind of went, So then now our kids are older, and we're like, okay, let's do this. And then the pandemic hits, and all 5 kids are at home and they're not in school. We're like, universe.
But on that note,
here we are.
Here we are. And if we can do it with 5 kids
through
with
anything,
this crazy banana circumstance going on right now, I feel like
we can do anything. And our husbands both work away from home. They're hardly ever home. We're basically single moms. So like, sometimes if you can do something amazing through the hardest times, I can't wait to see what we can do when times get even better, because it's going to get better.
Yeah, we're like fireflies. We glow in the dark when it's crazy.
Yeah, and you keep glowing. And
I like that. Julia, you've missed out a huge part as well. What else do you do with most of your time? The rest of the time?
No kidding. She's a nurse.
I work full-time.
This pandemic, she was part-time. This is another thing. We're like, we started our coaching. We started it started like manifesting it last year, the end of last year. And then we really started playing with it this year.
Yeah.
And then this pandemic happened when we were like really getting into it.
In the beginning of March.
And in the beginning, we're like, the kids are in school. This is wicked. Julia's working part-time. This is awesome. Pandemic happens. Kids are at home. Julia has to go full-time because she's a nurse. And we're like, this is like a curveball. We're going to make it.
But the only benefit of being full-time is I know the days I'm actually off. So we can do our business around that.
But you're like Wonder Woman. You manage it. You always figure it out. And I just love how human you are through it as well, because you're just so open and you're like, okay, I've had a couple of weeks. And like now the fact that you're celebrating for a couple of weeks because you're off, and it's just, I just love watching your journey. Sometimes I'm like, how do you do it?
Right. It's so true. She does not let excuses get in her mind. It's amazing.
People ask me how all the time.
We can all learn.
When you love something enough and you desire it enough, you can do anything you set your mind to. And I've had so many people tell me that I can't, and that labeled me because of being hearing impaired, that they're like, oh, you can't learn French because you wear hearing aids. Oh, you're not very smart because you wear hearing aids. So what did I do? Oh, I passed that class 99%. Yeah. And then I moved to Montreal to a French area and learned French as an adult just to prove them wrong. Yeah. So, with them all, I'm gonna shine my light. No one's gonna tell me what I can't.
Firefly, baby. Firefly.
You are amazing.
Even though I'm on vacation now, it doesn't feel like work because I truly love doing this. So I'm so happy to be here. And
what I really love about Julia is a lot of people get stuck in the how. How do I do this when I work full time? How do I do this when I have kids home? And when you get that how in your mind, it blocks you. And Julia has never let the how block her. She's like, we're just, I'm off today. Let's just do it. Let's just do it.
Go for
There's
it.
no how. How are we going to do it? We got 5 kids. How are we going to do it? She's like, just do it. Come on.
And it works, and it's paying off. And look at you both, and look at your dreams and everything that you've accomplished. It works. So you are just living examples, living, breathing, embodied examples of what many people can achieve. And that's what this is all about. So, okay. I was going to see which one. I was going to ask you directly which one, but then I just speak as it comes. We each have a reason. We each have a reason why we do something. What dreams and goals have inspired you to succeed?
I think we kind of answered that a bit, A little bit.
Yeah, we did kind of.
We can touch on it a bit.
Sure. Do you want to? You want to tap in on that one?
So what really inspired me is, I'm going to say my parents and my mother-in-law, because my parents have been strong. They've been through a lot, and I've seen them rise every time. Nothing got them down. Every time they would get handed something, they would work on it together. And like, you don't see a lot of marriages that are together 40 plus years anymore. And they really inspire me because they've been through it all, like with me wearing hearing aids and trying to go through that. And they really taught me to be myself, to wear my hair up, not to hide my hearing aids. Like they inspired me more than they would ever know. And another person that has really inspired me is my mother-in-law. She's not here with us anymore. But when I met her, she had a brain aneurysm about maybe 10 years before, and she just really lived life to the fullest. She did not let she had to learn how to walk again, learn how to talk. Right. And she was paralyzed a bit on her right side, so she had to learn how to write and paint with her left hand.
And she was an artist.
Beautiful artist. To do the most beautiful paintings together, and and as if life didn't handle her enough, she found out when I was pregnant with my second child that she had cancer. And the first thing she said to me was, God gave me another 17 years to raise my son. Because
she saw the positive in it.
She could have passed away when she had that brain aneurysm, and she fought and she raised her son. And I got to meet her, and she got to be an Annie for my oldest. And like, how can someone go through so much in life and still be happy? She was like the happiest person I knew. And she just made me realize, don't take life for granted. Enjoy every moment. and just be grateful for what you have. You might have a little disability or something, like, but it doesn't stop you from living. You know, like, she still walked down the street even though she had a limp
all the time.
She was like,
she definitely pushed boundaries.
Huge role model in my life.
She definitely pushed boundaries and was one of those women that just lived her vision.
Yeah. And
she didn't let fear stop her.
One thing she kept saying before she passed was, I just want to see Jaden get married. Like, she just wanted to be involved in the kids'
life. Jaden's her oldest son.
Yeah, my oldest son. And like, so I know when he does get married, I'm going to light a candle in her name and make sure that her spirit is with us when that happens. But, you know, you don't realize how precious life is until you don't know how much time you have left. And that's why I'm full of energy and I live my life to the fullest.
And we reach our goals because we've seen, like, we've had a younger sister pass away.
We clean it. Here, baby.
We've seen people, you know, you like Julie said, you don't know how long you're going to live. So we've seen people think they have forever. They think they have forever. And, you know, they don't live in the moment. They don't try to live in their vision, their goals, their dreams.
And you never know.
You never know.
What if I did this? How about do it? And if it doesn't work, you know, instead of what if it would have worked.
I love that. What a great message. And it really is a great message. And you're just both of you true examples of that, just living life to the full. And I'm just so inspired right now. That story was lovely. Really, really was. And I just love watching you both just absolutely shine. You're just both shining and it is just so beautiful. So we're going to move on a little bit to leadership. Okay?
Yeah, that was just like, whew, okay. That was deep.
Okay?
Yeah.
I've got goosebumps and I'm like, my heart's just so full and I'm sending you so much love and thank you for sharing. Really, thank you. So, what's been the most important leadership lesson you have learned and how did you overcome it?
So
I'm just reading the question too in case they don't hear it, because if you want to.
So, you know, it's funny because when I think back, so we're sisters. Our parents are the same, even though we don't look the same. We get asked questions.
I'm blonde hair, blue eyes, she's brown.
We have a lot of mixed race in our family, so we got a little bit of each mixed race there. So one of the things for me about leadership was I feel like we were able to experience it really young. Our parents really encouraged us to be with the elders in our community, to have mentors in our lives. And this has helped us through so many huge things in our life. Huge events, huge mindset blocks, you know, and a different perspective. So, you know, it first started with like helping elderly in our neighborhood, and they would just give us a different perspective other than our parents or ourselves, and a different generation. And it evolved because we realized how we thrive as individuals when we have many people to, like a mastermind of people, a community of people that we can tap into their knowledge, their experiences, their way of living, and to see things from a different perspective, a different lens. And so we learned that very young. And we had some really amazing mentors growing up. And one of my mentors growing up made me realize how important fun and play was. Because we grew up in a very serious household. And so tapping into that energy of another person was such a beautiful gift for me. It made me take life less serious, and it also allowed me to live more in the moment, step out of fear, or at least if I'm acknowledging my fear, to not just live in my fear mode. And having those mentors and that leadership is beautiful. So now Julie and I are constantly embracing and loving leadership and mentors in our lives. And, even when you look at the prime ministers and the presidents and the major leaders in the world, it's not one person does it all. They tap into a community of abundance of knowledge, of people with experience, and it helps enrich and expand their lives so that they can be an amazing leader. When leaders are shut off to this resource of other people, their leadership isn't the same. And so for us as well, we love expanding our knowledge and our communities so that we can evolve.
And Tiffany, what she said was beautiful, so I'll just lightly
expand,
put my 2 cents in. Is growing up with leaders is you realize that no matter how strong you are and how much you lead, you're always going to need help later on. We all grow older. We all need help. So I feel like a true leader is not afraid to say, "Oh, I need help with this," or "I need support in this." And like, to be a leader, to be able to move, to lead, like, you can't lead people unless you move. If you move, people will follow. You have to embody the leader that you are so that you can get other people to follow with you. And it's better to hang around other leaders than a bunch of followers. You don't want to have clients all the time that are there to follow you. You want them to rise with you. So every time you up level and you lead, you want them to come up and lead so that we all feel like we're
rising together.
And I feel like we really test our leadership being a duo team, because we have to learn that balance of, okay, who's saying what,
boundaries,
and it really taught us, like, 'cause when we first did this business, we're like, oh, but we didn't realize how many obstacles we would have to work on, because we're both two very strong, independent women.
We're very different. We're
and
polar
very
opposites.
different, but that's what makes
I'd love to be in a room when you've got ideas going around you two.
And the funny thing about it is, growing up, we didn't really get along. Like, our personalities, we were like,
just steal my clothes all the time, and I was always bigger, so I couldn't fit in her freaking clothes. It's not fair.
And this woman can kick your ass if you need it. Like she said, she was always bigger, so it's like, run. But we've learned to appreciate each other's differences and grow to communicate better. And we did this through leadership.
Yeah,
we did, because I don't think, had we had proper leaders in our life and had we not expanded through that, I'm not even sure where our relationship would be.
Well, I think,
at this point.
I think having kids really helped us, because as a mom, you have, like, you depend on other moms, oh, the baby's crying, what do I do? And like Tiffany, she's like, oh, CPR, I'm going to feed him at your place. So if he choked, you can save him.
I totally did that. I drove to her place. We did baby-led weaning. I'm like, I'm just going to come over and you can teach me. And then you're going to be there if he chokes. I'm just going to be freaking out.
Yeah, and it's scary though, isn't it? What I found when I had my eldest, I was a single parent for a couple of years, and what I actually did find is I got left alone because all of my friends didn't have children. So all of a sudden they stopped ringing, they stopped coming round, they stopped asking me out, and I just found myself on my own. And it was so scary. Don't get me wrong, my mum was there, grandma and my sister. But in the house and the way I felt and my mindset, I was just, it was so scary, so scary. And it's, I fully get that. And how lovely to be able to build from that. I just wanted to say, before I go off track, your answer to leadership then was absolutely incredible. And it is so true. All of the different perspectives, everybody that we meet in life, we can learn from every single person. And I can relate sometimes I can relate to both of what you're saying. Julia as well, with you being the nurse, I've been a support worker, so I've been working with the agency. I've been into several different settings, and I learned so much from seeing it from that different side as well. And again, even though it wasn't, a coach, a trainer, a teacher, I still learn from those people. And I just love how you brought all that together. And every single person, every experience we have, we can learn from. And that was just brilliant.
Love it.
You can take it as a moment to expand, even when we fail. This might be an answer for a question later, but even when we fail, if we see it as an opportunity to expand, and not so much as a failure, but as a lesson when we can extract the lesson.
And we learn from
From the failure?
watching what other leaders have failed at and
Mhm.
learn their lesson from. So
Yeah.
like if we're not
So then it's not failure if
Yeah.
you're extracting the lesson
No.
from it.
No, and one thing that really shifted for me as well is I used to be scared of failure. I used to be scared of getting things wrong. I'm a perfectionist at heart. So
Yes.
everything needs or used to be as though this has to be perfect. And I used to really hold myself back. And then I realized that in order to succeed, we have to fail. You cannot
Yes.
succeed unless you fail. And if you're not failing, you're not taking them steps forward. You're not learning new things.
It's
You're
so
not coming
true.
out your comfort zone.
It's
Yeah.
So
so true.
it's the attachment I used to give to that word. Failure is now, to me, is a stepping stone in the right direction, out my comfort zone. And I'd rather fail forward and flat on my
Yeah.
face and stand back up than just sit and be comfortable and go, oh, I wish I'd tried.
Yes. And see, that's the expansion, because literally when we're in school, if you're raised in a typical social setting in school, then they've made it that failure is a negative thing.
Yeah, like if you fail
Yeah.
longer,
Yeah, or you fail a math test, or you're meant
All
to,
that pressure around exams, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so that's expanding, when you can expand through leadership, understanding that failure is a beautiful process just to help you learn, then it's really not that big of a problem. And we can step into it from a different mind frame.
Yeah. And I think that's it, isn't it? It's on the other side of that. It's that self-sabotage that comes when we do make a mistake, when things don't go as we planned. It's what we do in that moment then, isn't it? And for me, it was learning that, okay, what worked, what didn't work, and how can I move forward? Whereas in the past, there was times where I used to kind of stay still and I was a bit like, oh, I don't want to move.
Yeah.
But it's overcoming that. And this is what all of it's about. As you keep on going through it, we overcome it. We just navigate I can't even say the word, effortlessly through the emotions and through the failure. And then all of a sudden it's all these successes and you're like, wow, I am so glad I failed all of them times. I just love that. I love it.
So true. It's beautiful.
Very true.
Julia, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I think Tiffany covered it pretty good, because there's two of us are trying to balance it out so we don't go on and on and on.
I'm open. I'm more than happy for you to be here. Who's watching the kids?
We actually hired a babysitter to help us out, so it worked out really well.
Yeah.
So
now that babysitters are allowed to babysit again.
Wow. And you're going to make the most of it. You're trying to get off, aren't you? So you can
have babysitting. This is time outside, no kids. Woo!
Okay. That's excellent.
I think the most important leadership is to lead yourself, so that your children see that you lead yourself, that you take care of yourself. And
are we still on leadership?
Yeah. That's what the question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, that's good. That's good. I'm glad you're
it's because we got sidetracked with failure, didn't we? We were talking about failure.
That's why I was like,
okay. Well, I was going into that. I was.
I love you too.
But kids see us fail and how we handle it.
Yes.
See, I told you.
Oh, I love it.
See how I covered that? So then, so then if they see us fail and pick ourselves back up and never give up, then we're showing them leadership in their life, that to try and to fail forward and keep going.
Yeah.
There we go.
I love it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I do.
Thank you.
Excellent. I've just noticed, I have got my phone here, so excuse me for a second. There's a couple of comments that have come up. So we've got Bernadette, Naomi, Natalie watching. Hi, everybody who is watching. Stacey is on. So Natalie has put a few comments saying, the more people say you can't do something, the more it spurs you on. So we're going back to a couple of the comments that you said towards the beginning. You're all glowing tonight. So much energy coming from you all right now, which is absolutely fabulous. Thank you, Natalie. It seems so weird watching you wave on here while you're not waving there. Okay, so Natalie's put, you've given me goosebumps. Your disability doesn't define you or control who you are. Losing my sister last year hit home with me and has spurred me on. It's been so hard. You've just inspired me even more. Oh, Natalie, I love you so much. How beautiful. That's lovely. And Sarah's here as well. And we have, and Sarah's also saying, I love you too. So she's sending lots of love to everybody. So thank you to everybody who's watching.
Cheers.
Hey, let me do it. Cheers.
Rachel, cheer.
Okay, so as the comments come through, I haven't really been spending much time on comments, but I didn't want to kind of miss anything. So we're going to come back.
And
Thank you.
if you're watching and we miss the comments, we'll come
back.
We'll come back.
Absolutely.
If we don't have a chance to do it live, we'll at least come back,
And
virtually.
Yeah, so come say hey. And towards the end, obviously, you ladies will be able to share where we can find you. We'll put your group details below, so anybody that wants to jump into your vibes will do. And I highly, highly recommend they do. Yay. So how do you both approach the unknown and learn to embrace risk? So we briefly spoke about failure. Maybe that might come into that. What's this mean for you? What's the question for you two?
Did you hear that?
I'm just looking at it again to make sure I say it right.
Well, while she's looking that up, I'll kind of start.
Okay, yeah.
So whenever I was younger, I think there was so many things that had happened. My sister passed away. There was a lot of events that I felt were very traumatic in our lives, and just the way it is, everybody takes trauma differently. So I kind of just started trying to control everything in my life because it made me feel safe. So I didn't like to do anything outside where I didn't feel control. I didn't like to give my control away. So this was very, very hard for me initially to tap into. But then I ended up going through a major breakup with my high school sweetheart. And it really made me see life differently because I ended up getting a amazing mentor from that experience that taught me about just enjoying life and not being so uptight and in control about everything. Which, I mean, seriously, when you're uptight and in control about everything, it's kind of a bit of a trigger when somebody tells you this.
Yeah.
So I stepped into this, and slowly Julia jumps all in where I'm just like, I'll tiptoe into this. But it made me expand so much that I started taking care of myself in a different way. I started just trusting my intuition and just living in this more feminine energy of being creative and enjoying the moment and the flow of things. And while I was going through this process for like two and a half years, I ended up working at a place where there was like all these guys, and my boss is like, Tiffany, like, what are you doing? Like, how come you have so many guys asking you out? And I was just like, I'm just talking and working and living life. And I literally had like this whole slew of guys to like choose from. And I met my husband there. And what I love about Jamie is he's just one of these guys that totally dives into taking chances and living uncertainty. So he asked me, and I didn't know him long, and he's like, will you move out to BC with me? At this point, I had never flown on a plane. I almost said train. I had never flown on a plane. I had never left my small town. And I was like, wow, this is a really big step for me. So I did. I flew out, and he was already out there for a month. So we were doing like long distance, and I flew out there. And he's like, oh, I'll meet you. I'll be right there as soon as you get off the plane. I'm like, okay. So I get off the plane and I look around. I'm like, oh my God, he didn't show up.
And you didn't have a cell phone back then?
No, I didn't have a cell phone. That was cell phones were a thing. Anyway, so I was like devastated, and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? So I just started following the crowd because I didn't know what to do. And I'm like, I can't believe this guy didn't show up. Like, so I get past the security. Thank you. Woo, brain fart there. And he's there, and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot to tell you that like I can't be right there off the plane. Like he's like, I didn't mean it literal, but because I had anyway. So it was a beautiful experience, and it made me realize that I can start trusting. I can give that control away and start trusting people. And so we ended up buying an RV, and we traveled everywhere from Quebec to BC in Ontario, or like in Canada, sorry. And we lived that like nomad life for 5 years. And then in that time, he had called me one day while I was at work, and he's like, what are you doing this weekend? And I'm like, working. He's like, well, he's like, I was talking to your boss and you don't have to. He's like, if you want to go to Tofino and elope, he's like, I got us plane tickets. We can either go for like a vacation or we can like get hitched. So I did. I just trusted my instincts. We went, I called my parents and I'm like, so I'm getting married. They're like, yay, when? And I'm like, this weekend. We're like, what?
And we're coming. This is not getting eloping without us.
So that's incredible.
You know, I just really, it was so fun and playful. Like, you know, there was no stress. He had planned our wedding in a day. So I didn't worry, like, what is my hair going to look like? Am I going to even find a wedding dress? I had 8 hours to find a wedding dress. I went in and picked one out. Boop, good. Got my hair done. It was fantastic. Like, there was no stress. It was super playful. And we did the same thing with the house. Like, we were driving around in our RV for like 5 years, like I said. And then we found our house online. And when we found our house online, it was like 3 provinces away, which is like 3 days away if you're driving. And so we ended up buying it online without seeing it, just trusting, without seeing it in person. We just trusted. It felt right. We went with our intuition. It was part of our goal setting. We wrote down everything we wanted in a house, and we had been looking for years. And then all of a sudden we're like, yep, that's it. And just, we didn't know where we wanted to live. We were just like, we'll live anywhere that has these things quality, on our, And it was, you know, it was just trusting and letting go of control and just going with the feel, like, does this feel right? You know, does this feel good? And not using my brain, but, you know, my intuition, my feminine energy.
And like what I would say is, people always fear the unknown, and they overthink things, and then they hold themselves back and they let fear take over. And sometimes when you go into something not knowing is when you get the best results. It's true. You know, like, you just have to trust. And it's like kind of like when you're walking on top of the water, you have to trust when you take the next step that the stone's going to be there to catch you, and that you can make it across the lake. Like, you have to jump before you can see the evidence that it's there. You know, you have to go for it, because like, there's so many unknowns. Like, I used to love planning everything. I'm like, okay, we're married, we have a house, let's get pregnant. Boom, I lost my first baby. I wasn't prepared for that. Like, you know, so then we tried again. We got pregnant with him. And I'm like, oh my God, like, is my husband going to be home when I have the baby? Like, all these things went through my mind, because he's a transport driver. What if he's like 5 hours away and I'm in labor? And you know what? He was actually home. Like, what are the chances? The day going to labor, on a Sunday, he was home. And guess what? He still missed it.
Oh,
boom.
Yeah. Like, you know,
there's a universe going for you. You want him to miss it? For sure. We'll make it happen.
I know.
What happened was I almost lost him. I had an emergency C-section, and he was so nervous. He went out for a smoke, and when he came back, they already had cut me open. They couldn't wait. So, like, no matter how much you plan everything, no matter how much you think you know, you really don't know anything.
No,
you don't.
So true.
But
you just gotta enjoy it, like, because all this stress that you're trying to control, all this stuff you're trying to control just causes stress. You don't enjoy it.
And like, I was hearing, so I was worried, you know, am I going to hear the kid? What if they choke? Like, you know, that, like, I was worried about all these things, and my kids are still alive. I have 3 of them now. So, you know, like, she got them past the 365 days and keep going.
That is a celebration though, isn't it?
You know, and people are like, what if? I'm like, what if, like, you know, like, it worked. Everything worked out fine, and you just never know. Even if you think you know, you really don't, because life can change like that.
And you know, control is what if, but often we turn that what if into a negative. Like, what if we can't hear them? What if it doesn't work? What if we turn that what if it does work? What if it's the best experience of my life? What if it doesn't work, but I still learn something amazing from it? You know, like, just turn that what if to a different positive spin.
And I think we've all been guilty of it, haven't we? We've all been guilty of holding back and not doing as we know we should. So yeah, definitely we can all take a lesson here. And for me, especially when it comes to, and you might agree with me, when it comes to being a mum, one of the things I realized, it's very much a masculine energy, you know, get ready, get done, make sure they're all ready. It's all taking care of somebody else. And for me, it took me a while to kind of separate and understand that go, do. And when I first actually started implementing it, it felt so strange to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now I crave that strange, it's not even strange anymore, it's a comfort. But it used to, you know, I now crave for it. And I just find it, just the difference of like what you've just said, just shifting from going from the what if it goes wrong to what if it goes right, completely puts us in a different light. It just opens up and expands us to so many different possibilities. I just
changes the energy, completely changes the energy.
And
absolutely, yeah. And one of the things that you did mention as well, Julia, was that, you know, when you go into the unknown, you don't know whether it's going to be really, really good. The thing is, if we don't take any action and we don't do it, we're never going to know.
Exactly.
We're always going to end up staying where we are now. We'll never know. And imagine if you just miss that chance.
And my biggest theory about the unknown, it's about relationship, like not saying mine, but just in general from what I've heard from people, is people like, because my husband and I have both very high rate divorce careers, with me being a nurse and him a transport driver. So people are like, well, are you worried? Like he's always gone and blah, blah. And I said, you know, when I married him, I didn't know if it would work out, but I took the chance of the unknown. And if I spend every day worrying he's out on the road doing whatever, and he never cheats on me, then I've worried my whole life for nothing. Right? And if he did, then they're not worth worrying over. So like when you play with the unknown, like what if he does this? What if he does this? It's like you have this glass of poison and you're drinking it and you're putting your body in fight or flight mode, and he's out there
living life,
family, and the most amazing husband I could ever ask for. Or I'm poisoning myself worrying over the unknown, where just go with it and be happy and don't worry about everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't control that.
Yeah, I've experienced that myself. I've been through that, where I was so paranoid that I left myself. I was literally so scared of anything good or bad. I got to the stage where I was so numb, and it just, you know, it takes a while for, I mean, it doesn't have to take a while, does it really? But when we start trusting, and like you said, you know, when we let go of that control, every relationship, I truly believe, should be 100 and 100. Now, I've always been brought up to believe or told it's 50-50. Now, 50-50 doesn't, that kind of means, to me now, that kind of means two unholes that's like half empty. That means that there's going to be problems, that there's going to be, somebody's not going to be fulfilled, somebody's not going to be fully happy, or they're going to be, you know, just saying yes because you're asking to. And this is where we can get a few like dysfunctional, when, you know, when people kind of become controlling. And when you actually bring that away, when you stop, like you were saying, I'm not talking about control or anything, I'm talking more about when we take the pressure off. Like for me, when I first got with Mark, it was all about marriage. It was like, when are we going to get married? When are we going to do this? And it was all the steps. And the reason being, it was coming from fear if I didn't want to be on my own again. I didn't want to be a single parent with 2 children. And, you know, it took me a while to work through that and think, I don't care whether I've got a ring or not. All I care about is that he's here, that he's healthy, that he's helping me, he's supporting me, and he, you know, he's growing with me with my life. Whereas I could get married and he could completely change. He might not be that person. I'd rather grow together and create life and enjoy life between us without listening to other people's hearsay, and do it as our own and really have, it's quite magical, isn't it? A relationship between 2 people. It is literally, nobody else knows what goes on apart from you two. And for me, I find so much power and empowerment by being able to sit with somebody who knows you so truly. Honestly, like for me, there is nobody in this world who doesn't know me better. And he really does pull me out on my own shit at times as well. But to have that, and to have somebody walk with you every step of the way. For me, it's very different, because every other relationship for me was always about control. Not knowingly, I never chose to go, oh, I'm going to control you. But because of my anxiety, because of my depression, it was the way I could like control, that fear factor inside of me. And like I say, when I first got into this relationship, I had to work through that. I really had to change them patterns, make sure that it wasn't coming and carrying. And everybody can turn this around. It doesn't matter as long as we do the work. But it is the most beautiful thing to have and to treasure, without, like you were saying, without having that control, without waiting for the next step, without what's next. You know, it's like we get together, we get married, then we have the children, then what comes next? And a lot of people get lost within that kind of make believe fairy tale, isn't it?
When you're following this like societal pressure, it's like you're living out of fear, like I'm getting too old, I need to do this before I hit this age, or, you know, instead of living out of a realm of desire, like I desire to be with this person forever, I desire to have children right now, you know.
And I have a friend, her story is beautiful, you know who I mean, I won't say name, but like
now I'm curious.
She turned her life around in 6 months. What
oh
she did.
yes, oh my
and like
gosh.
I am just blown away, because like it's never too late to turn your life around and go for it. So she was single, and within a 6-month span, she had gastric bypass surgery 2 weeks before she met her man. So she met a man, she had gastric bypass surgery, she lost 100 pounds, moved in with him, they got married, and she's pregnant with twins within 6 months. Like, and
it's all based out of desire. Like she desired to do this.
And she's like 37. So like some people at 37 might be like, oh, I'll never have kids, but she never gave up. And like I'm just blown away every time I think about her story.
It's beautiful.
It's never too late to turn your life around. And our bodies, from a nursing perspective, they're amazing. They're forgiving. They're resilient. We can.
They're magical.
They're magical. We can transform our bodies.
We create life.
Yeah.
We are super, super powerful.
Yeah, we are powerful beyond belief. And you know, and one thing about being moms, if we were talking about it, is I always nurtured my relationship with my husband, because I wouldn't be here or have my children without him. And sometimes as a mom, we put ourselves last. Like we have the kids, our husband, us, and if we don't take care of ourselves, we're not taking care of everyone else. And you know,
Julie's always been very good about self-care,
and I never realized that.
Into feminine
like,
energy.
oh, you always put makeup on, you always take care of yourself. But I didn't even see it that way until Tiffany brought it up, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm already kind of doing it. Cool, you know, like
she totally embodied it.
But I always said I would never put my husband on the back burner when we had children, because I want him to know that I love him more than anything, and that, you know.
Well, and not only that, but there's so much self-love for yourself too. Like you take, you know, she takes good care of herself, and that
you've got to be a team, haven't you? You've got to be a team. There's no kind of hierarchy. There's no roles as such, expectations, you know. To have expectations of how, so imagine if you were sat there and you expected somebody to clean up, wash, like, you know, wash your clothes, do your ironing, do like the cooking, and to feel expected to do it, it doesn't make me feel good. And a lot of us build a relationship based on the expectation that the woman stays at home, provides, looks after the family while the man goes out. Now I know it's changing, but there's still so many living within that paradigm, isn't there, and going through it. And I just I love how you say that you put him first, because if you haven't got that, what's the point? That relationship is the foundation of it all, isn't it?
But I personally like to say that I feel like she puts herself first, then her marriage.
Absolutely.
And because she puts herself first, then she's able to put you know, attention into her marriage and her love, and then that trickles into her family and her children.
But if you weren't putting love into yourself first, Julia, you wouldn't feel like you could be like that with your husband.
And once the kids are gone, what do you have left?
That's
why most, because you lost yourself. I feel like when you're married, you grow together, you learn together, and don't stop that just because you have kids. Make time for dating and stuff.
And for people that aren't married and don't have kids, you know, it's even just when you take care of yourself, the right people fall into your world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. So what do you like for time? Because we are, I don't know what time it is at the moment.
47 minutes.
Okay,
Oh,
so do you want me to cut out a question, or are you all right to, should we just keep going?
Yeah, we'll try to
Pretty good.
we'll try to
Yeah?
go into masculine mode here.
Yeah, masculine mode.
No, switch. Do you know? You reminded me of something of Hocus Pocus that I'm both of you like.
Hocus Pocus!
I love that movie.
It's ace, isn't it?
Song stuck in my head. Oh. Is this where the duck lips came from?
I don't know.
I need to compose myself. Okay, what do you do to challenge your underlying beliefs, paradigms, and assumptions? Ooh, Julia.
She's
So
reading.
what do I do to challenge my underlying belief, paradigm, and assumptions? So to challenge myself is like at the bottom of our brain, like our brain stem, it's called like the gaggly brain or something. There's some term for it.
Come on, get your nursing brain on. She's not in nursing mode right now.
I'm not in nursing mode right now. I am in fun mode. But we all have that negative self-talk in our head. And I realized through personal development that I had to get rid of that inner critic, they call it. That's the other name for it.
I call it the monkey mind.
That we listen to. And it's crazy how it holds us back so much. So I had to learn to rewire my inner critic and to work on it. And Tiffany has a good way that she writes it out in pencil, your negative thought, and then she writes in pen a positive thought. And the more you replay it and the more you loop it in your brain, then you can erase the pencil and you have this new belief system.
In pen.
Our brain is like a computer. So if you tell your brain something, then it's going to believe it and be like, yep, it's true. Like if you say to the brain,
it doesn't know the difference between reality and your perception. So when you're telling your brain like, oh, I'm in danger, even if you're not, you know, you're going to go in fight and flight mode.
Yeah. So you have to be aware of your underlying issues. You have to face them head on, and you have to learn the tools and techniques to work with it, which I've learned through personal development courses and reading and talking with my mentors. And you learn from people that have already gone through it, and you have to learn you can't do everything alone. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get guidance. And the only way you get through stuff is to be honest with yourself. You have to be 100% authentically you and look and see what is underlying so that you can work with it.
Well, and just, you know, when this authentically you thing started popping up, you know, I really was like, people are throwing this around so much. It kind of triggered me initially because I'm like, people are just throwing it around like, yeah, okay, authentic, but we're so exposed to so many ideas and behaviors through our society. And I think a big thing, I've been really getting to know human design. I'm a generator and learning my fear gates. And a lot of it is learning, you know, is this a natural fear that lives in your body, or is this something that has come outside of you, like whether from a parent,
take on other people's fears.
Yeah, you take on other people's fears or perceptions, you know, whether it's a parent, a sibling, you know, school, whatever. And so when you can learn when it's somebody else's and you can journal it, acknowledge, bring it to the surface that this is not my fear, it's somebody else's fear, then you can release it.
Yeah.
And if it's subconscious, you know, it's something that you can at least bring to your conscious so that you can work on it and rewire it.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. And for me, it's all about taking the responsibility yourself. Nobody else can do it. And, you know, we can carry on going around in cycles and keep trying to kind of get things to work and blame other people because such a thing isn't working. But the bottom line is when we become aware of it, when we start shifting and looking at ourselves, like you said, from the conditioning of other people, that doesn't mean that anybody else is wrong. It doesn't mean that they're bad people or they're good. It just means that it doesn't fit with ourselves, and it's not what they've told us isn't going to enhance our lives. It's not going to move us forward. And a lot of the time, for me especially, it comes from care, it comes from support and people not wanting me to take a risk in case something goes wrong. And this is the mindset to come away from. But I just, as you're doing it, as you're talking about it, I just love how you both explain how you work through it. And it's just so, for everybody who's watching, it is so important to take that responsibility, and just as easy and as step by step as you've just shared, we just change it as we go, as it comes conscious to us. And there's so many tools and anchors out there. There's so many different ways and modalities that we can work through this, and we can use it. And I'm sure you ladies will be able to share it in your own groups and with the women that you work with. So I just, that was really, really good. So what values are you both?
A bit off of that.
I have something to say too. Okay.
Oh, go on.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Okay, so
I love it.
I was just thinking, like, one of my examples is my dad grew up in a very poor family. And so for him, his money mindset has always been to save. And we didn't grow up poor. Our parents were very good at providing and had very good careers to help provide for us. And yet I had taken on his fear of poverty,
his limiting
beliefs. And like my husband we were always good at making over 6 figures. And yet I had this issue of letting go of money, even though we made great money. And so I was always like, kind of
still wearing her maternity bras 5 years later.
I just get a new bra.
You know,
Yay!
like buy yourself a damn bra.
So like I had trouble releasing money. And so when I started, I had some amazing leadership to help me work on some of my limiting beliefs. And that was one of them that I worked on. And I realized this fear I had wasn't mine. It was from my dad. And my dad had experiences that, you know, brought him to his beliefs where I didn't. I had literally just picked this up from him. So I journaled about it. I worked through it, and I realized that this was not mine, and I was able to release it. It was a huge shift for me. I'll let Julia.
Okay.
Take it.
I remember.
Take it.
I think for my train of thought. Okay, pass me the mic. So basically the bottom line that I got from all my personal development, that simplified in the simplest way, is be yourself. Stop trying to be like everyone else. Stop trying to impress people. Just be yourself and don't give a shit what other people think. Because the older you get, the less you give a crap what other people think, and the more you just have that freedom to be who you want to be. And that underlying issue is always like, am I pretty enough? Am I smart enough? You are enough as you are. You were born perfect, and no one can take that away from you.
Mic drop. I just felt there needed to be a silence there. That was incredible. So what values are you both committed to?
Well, we have a lot to say about values, but one of the things that we really believe in and that we've really embodied is stepping up to the plate and living our dreams over fears. That is something we
It's nothing like a bit of marketing, is there?
Bit of marketing. There you go, babies. And then dreams over fear.
You can purchase it here, here, and here.
Well, we don't actually sell it.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
It's just something that we really tried to, because we realized that we had a lot of fears holding us back. And to live in integrity and authentically, we had to walk with our fears and step into the dream realm.
You'll never get rid of fear. Fear is meant to propel us into going to the next level. It's meant to push us and to fail forward, and, you know, just go for it and don't let anything hold you back.
And if you are afraid, this is when you can get, you know, a leadership or a community of beautiful people to help you walk with your fears and step into the next level of yourself.
And my biggest value is there's no, how does the saying go? It's no, like, I can't. It's like you either do it or you don't do it. There's no in between.
Like is it Henry Lloyd? If you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right.
I think Julia had this little old lady in her nursing home said to her.
Said this to me. And
okay.
I remember that.
Julia, there's no I can't, or I can't. You just do it. Just do
either
it.
do
I
it,
like that.
the thing.
Don't do
No,
it.
I think
There's no
I
in between.
can. Either you're all in or you're all out. Don't bullshit.
Best advice from a little old lady.
Yeah, I love learning from the elderly.
From
'cause
our
they're
elders.
so smart.
They
You learn
are.
so
and
much.
have a very
Yeah.
open perspective where, so close-minded and lost in our fears. And somebody from the outside is like, but you're brilliant. Why are you afraid? Like, you've already done this shit. What? Like, can you not see that you've already accomplished this? What's holding you back? And just having that perspective from the outside, you're like, oh, damn, yeah, I did, I guess, eh? And,
Yeah.
That's
so
powerful.
my biggest value is to just be authentic, be yourself. Don't worry about what others think, and really prioritize what you want in life, what you hold valuable: family, time, the
your
things
values,
you can't take
yes.
back. You can buy whatever you want, but you can't buy happiness.
It's buying.
You can't
it's
buy
buying
time back.
Yeah, it's buying
Yeah.
experiences and memories with your
Experience
family.
and memories is what life is
Magical moments, I call them.
Mhm.
Every day I like to snap magical moments, because you just don't know, do you? And I absolutely love just going back and just, even for a couple of minutes, just scrolling through, and I take a lot of pictures. But as I scroll through, and it's like, oh, I forgot about that. Or,
I have like 30,000 on my phone.
When Julie buys a new
yeah, I'm close. I'm close to that.
It took too many pictures.
I
I
need
want to know how many I have now.
your phone with the memory card.
Yeah.
It
I
drives
don't
me
know.
nuts. It's like another picture. Ah.
So are you a notification person, or are you somebody who goes through all your emails and makes sure there's no notifications?
Oh, emails? What's that? I have
I've got 27,690 emails.
emails? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
they're all
I have
junk.
193 that I haven't read yet.
Yeah, mine's it's one of, I don't know how we've got onto this subject. I think it was through photos.
We're in feminine energy. We are so like diffused energy right now. Woo!
Like chatting with a long lost friend. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So anyone that's watching this, are you a notification person, or do you clear them? Do you have notifications, or do you clear them? And we're going to move on quite swiftly.
Yeah.
So
I got that
how do you how do you both keep your feelings from clouding your next steps? Now, we've touched on this quite a lot, so feel free to keep it short if you want, or just expand as much as you want.
Be quick on
I
this
let
one.
my feelings come in. I used to try to suppress them. Now I let them come in and I journal them. I go bare feet on the earth. I go to the water to help it channel my energy. I think the biggest thing is not suppressing those feelings, so that we can learn from it, move on from it, journal it, and grow from it, expand from it. Because when we suppress our feelings, we're not expanding from them. We don't expand into why, to how, to it sometimes it's really tough. Sometimes you go through some crazy feelings in the moment, and they always
That's
say,
how I would have been, Julia.
Yeah.
Tiffany before, like, hey.
Sometimes, the saying, when emotions are high, intelligence are low. I feel like when you're in that moment, sometimes you have to step back, don't say anything, do what you need to do, acknowledge that you're in this moment, embrace it, do what you need to do, and walk through it. I'm not entirely sure if that was the question you're asking, but I definitely
right there.
If that's what works for you, then that's brilliant.
Yes. And then the other thing is, so my next step. So when I acknowledge my feelings, I also like to acknowledge if I'm thinking from my head or my heart. And that's huge, because if I'm thinking from my head, then, where is this coming from? Is this based on fear or desire? And if it's based on fear, then it's something that I can journal, or, talk to my coach about, talk to Julia about. It's great having Julia to talk about my fears, because, well, big sisters, they can snap stuff out of you.
When we talk them out as well, we get the answers. The amount of time I've gone to text somebody or send a message to my group, to my coach, and as I'm about to send it, I'm like, that sounds a little bit silly. I know that's not true.
Right?
And it brings me right back out of it again.
Yeah.
Like I find, like, with feelings, is not to let it get to your head, is Like whenever you feel something, you have to, like Tiffany said, you have to embrace it, embody it, feel the feelings, and then release and let it go, right? And like, I'll get so caught up in my head when really it comes from my heart. So like when I first started coaching and I had to tell my husband, okay, I want to invest this much in a mentor, I was really scared to tell him. I was all up in my head. I was like, oh my God, what is he going to think? He's going to say no. And so it took me months to finally come around and be like, okay, babe, I really want to do this. And when I told him from my heart, not from my head. I said, this is what I desire to do. This is what I really want to do. And he was like, okay, let's do it. And I was like, I was blown away.
It's the same reaction.
In my head, I'm
Crazy,
like,
isn't
he's
it?
gonna like shoot me down. Yeah,
And she used very empowering communication in our course Sacred Femme.
that we
She
do.
talks about we talk about sacred communication, and using that and embodying that kind of communication really puts you in an empowering place.
Mm-hmm.
And you're speaking from your heart, like Julia said, so people are more open to receiving the information you're sharing with them.
And you have to know how to work your feelings. Like, have you ever said an apology and be like, I'm sorry? Like, are you gonna believe them?
No.
Like, no, it's from the head
where
and not the
if
heart.
they're like, look at you and they're like,
Yeah, it's just because, isn't it?
Like, you have to be emotionally intelligent. And when your emotions and feelings are really high, that's not the time to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
That's the time to step out of your head and to like feel from the heart and go with what feels right. And not let your head block you or your feelings. Like, you need to deal with your feelings and then make the decision. So you're confident in those decisions.
Yeah, I love that. Whew. We're on the last question. I don't want to ask it you because that means that we're short to go off. So I'm just going to throw another 20, 30 questions at you while you've got childminder.
Julie's got the energy. We can do it.
Okay. Ready. I'm ready.
Okay, so what's the advice?
Sorry.
It's all right. What's the advice you would both give to your younger self who is just beginning this journey?
Oh, you smell.
Oh, check the hair flick.
Now that you're done with this.
Yeah, you can have it for a bit. I'll share.
So much.
I just need to like.
You gotta let your hair down once in a while.
You want to answer that, babe?
Sure.
You go first.
Okay, so I have to look at the question.
What would you tell your younger self?
Oh my God. Okay, how much time do we have left? Cause honey, no. The biggest thing, I actually ask this question all the time to my elderly patients.
Yeah.
Because it's a question that I'm fascinated with because they've lived so many lives ahead of me. What would they tell their younger self? The bottom line is, don't give a shit what other people think. Be yourself. Stop worrying about, are you pretty enough? Are you smart enough? Are you the right size? Don't worry. Just as soon as I let go of those fears and of worrying, I attracted so many more amazing
people in your life instead of people that you have to be around.
The more you're yourself, the more you can be yourself all the time. I can be crazy and energetic all the time. And people know that about me now at work. Like,
it used to trigger people. And now people are like, I'm jumping on this train.
Like at work, the residents are like, what has gotten into you? I'm like, I'm happy and it's contagious. And
it was
like,
a soup.
I see that.
It was a soup. Get yourself some.
So like, I think that you just have to, and another thing is, don't plan everything to a T. Plan it, but plan into the realm of potentiality. Dream bigger than you think is possible, because we underestimate what we can do in a year. We underestimate what we can do in
We overestimate what we can do in a day, but underestimate what we can do in a year.
Yeah, something
Absolutely.
like that.
Yeah.
So, like, don't be afraid to go for your dreams and do it. Don't let anything hold you back. And, follow your intuition, your gut. I see so many people stay in abusive relationship, and then once they leave, they're like the weight.
Why didn't I do that 5 years ago? That's usually the response.
Nothing is worse than wasting 5 years of your life than 5 years. People are like,
I suppose it's the same for jobs as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Anything in life, like even waiting to have children, or waiting to get married, or waiting to go to school, or waiting to,
Yeah.
find a house. Yeah, you know, just living those dreams. And for me, what I would have told my younger self is you to like let go of the control. It's like the water, you know, when you're swimming that you're struggling, but if you just lean back into the water and you trust it, it will guide you, it will float you.
Yes,
You know,
that's
to
a
let go of
really,
that
really good
control
example.
and to have this beautiful vision that you can create so that you can walk through your fears and step into that beautiful vision of yours.
Absolutely.
My younger self totally needed to hear that.
Yeah. And my
Yes,
younger
we all need to hear that.
would also say that to like, I love you.
Yes.
You're beautiful. You are worth it. You are here on this earth for a reason, no matter how big or how small. You are important. And don't let
I think
anyone
she's
take that
talking to
power
you.
away. Don't let anyone take your power away.
I love that.
True.
What a beautiful way to end. Are we going to go? You're going to do some more dancing for us?
Do we go out with music?
You can-
Lauren, like,
We've been
are
sitting
you in a
down for a
mood to
while.
dance?
Are you gonna put another song on? Who wants to dance, lady?
What song do you want?
If you
We
want
bring the
to,
vibe the same way we go out.
absolutely. Just before you do, I just want to say this has been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. I love you both. You are just awesome. And just before you do your music, where can we find you? Where do people find you?
Oh, yeah. So on Facebook, I'm Julia Oakham, and on Instagram, I'm Collective Vibes with the Z on it. And
we can actually put it right in the comments.
yeah, and then
Absolutely. Yeah.
and then we have a Facebook group called Dawn Rose Collective Vibes. So we put our middle names together and called it Dawn Rose, and collectively we're a vibe.
Yay.
And I'm Tiffany Rose Forche. And I will just put my stuff in the comments so you ladies can find both of us.
Yep.
And
Perfect.
get into our vibes, get into our
And
energy.
Thank you, Lauren, for hosting this amazing summit. We're so excited. And thank you for having us be a part of your journey. It's been amazing to be with you. And we love you. And we're so excited to be in your energy. Thank you.
I love you too. Okay, so you're going to dance? So you're going to do a goodbye dance just so I know I don't cut you off?
Do you have a song, Lauren, you'd like us to throw on for you?
Oh, don't do that. Not off the top of my head. Not right now before you all just laugh at me and go, oh, whatever.
Jelly dancing.
I think we should do the boom, boom, boom.
Oh, you like the
someone
boom,
wrote on
boom,
here,
boom,
boom.
boom.
Natalie, she's like, boom. I think we had a lot of
Is that by Black Eyed Peas
boom
too?
moments.
I was going to say, is that Black Eyed Peas? That boom, boom,
I think
boom.
it is, eh?
Yeah.
We do not own the rights to this music.
Did you find it?
Oh, you know, I'm slow. One thing about me is I'm not a technology person, so I'm in the learning.
That's okay, we all are. Whoever's been watching these series will also know I'm the same. It's all fun.
I did. I don't know if it's your thing, but this is a boom. We'll go with a boom.
We're going to go with a boom.
Okay, everybody on my
Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to let this roll for a little bit.
Gotta get Gotta get
Ready?
Gotta get Gotta get